The Man Who Disappeared in 1894. Part 1. The Night He Disappeared. The year was 1894. A cold winter covered the small town of Blackwood Hollow. Snow covered the empty streets. The wind moved through the old trees, creating a sound that felt like a whisper from the past. For many years, Blackwood Hollow was known as the quietest town in America. A place where nothing unusual happened. A place where people trusted each other. But on one freezing night, a mystery began. A mystery that nobody could solve for more than a century. His name was Thomas Whitmore, a respected businessman, a loving husband, a man who helped build the town. Everyone believed they knew Thomas, but they were wrong, because Thomas was carrying a secret that could destroy powerful people. On the evening of December 17, 1894, Thomas sat alone inside his office. The candle beside him was almost finished. The room was filled with old documents, newspapers, maps, and a strange black notebook that he had hidden from everyone. Thomas looked nervous. His hands were shaking, not because he was afraid of the cold, but because he had discovered something terrible, something that changed everything. Inside the notebook, there were names, dates, and information about people he trusted, people who appeared honest in public, but were hiding a dark truth. At exactly 11:47 p.m., a sound was heard outside the office. Someone was standing near the door. Thomas quickly closed the notebook. He looked toward the door. "Who is there?" No answer, only silence. Then, a small envelope was pushed under the door. Thomas slowly picked it up. His face changed when he saw the symbol on it, a symbol he had seen before. Inside the envelope, there was only one sentence: "You know too much. Stop now, or disappear forever." Thomas understood. Someone was watching him. Someone knew about his investigation. He looked at the clock. Then he looked at the hidden notebook. He made a decision that would change history. Thomas opened his desk drawer. Inside was an old leather briefcase. He placed the notebook inside, along with several important documents, and one photograph. Before leaving, Thomas wrote a letter, but he did not finish it, because he heard something. Footsteps outside his office. Slow, heavy, coming closer. Thomas turned off the candle. The room became completely dark. The office door slowly moved. Someone was entering. But when the person entered, Thomas was already gone. The next morning, Blackwood Hollow woke up to shocking news. Thomas Whitmore had disappeared. The town searched everywhere. The forests, the rivers, the old roads, but nothing was found. No footprints, no struggle, no broken window, no sign of violence. It was as if Thomas Whitmore had vanished into the night itself. But inside his house, investigators discovered three impossible things. First, the front door was locked from the inside. Second, his unfinished letter was still on the desk. Third, the leather briefcase was missing. And inside the unfinished letter, there was only one sentence. "If you are reading this, then I failed to stop them." Nobody understood. Who were they? What did Thomas discover? And why did he believe he might never return? 30 years later, a forgotten house near Blackwood Forest was opened. Inside that abandoned house, workers discovered a hidden room. And inside the room, they found an old wooden box, covered with dust, locked with a rusty chain. On the top of the box, someone had carved a name. Thomas Whitmore. The mystery that started in 1894 was about to begin again, because inside that box was the truth, a truth someone had killed to hide. Part 2, the box that should never have been found. The old wooden box sat on the table, covered with dust, covered with memories, and covered with a mystery that had remained hidden for 30 years. The workers who discovered the box had no idea that they had just opened a chapter of history, a chapter someone wanted to keep buried forever. The box was taken to the Blackwood Hollow investigation office. By evening, the entire town knew about it. Everyone was asking the same question. What was inside the box? The investigator in charge was Daniel Carter, a young but highly respected investigator, a man known for finding answers even when everyone else had given up. But when Daniel saw the name carved on the box, Thomas Whitmore, he felt something strange, a feeling he could not explain. It was as if the box was not discovered by accident. It was waiting for him. The room became silent as Daniel examined the lock. The metal was old. The chain was damaged, but someone had protected this box carefully. After several attempts, the rusty lock finally opened. Everyone gathered closer. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Daniel slowly lifted the lid. Inside, there were only 4 things: an old black notebook, a silver key, a faded photograph, and a small envelope. Daniel picked up the photograph first, and the moment he looked at it, his expression changed. The photograph showed Thomas Whitmore standing beside another man, a man wearing a dark coat. But the strange part was not the man. It was the date written below the photograph. December 17th, 1894. The exact night Thomas disappeared. Daniel turned the photograph over. On the back, there was a message, written by Thomas himself. The person beside me knows the truth. Everyone looked at each other, because nobody knew who the other man was. Daniel opened the old black notebook. The first pages were normal: business records, daily notes, personal memories. But after a certain date, Thomas's writing changed. The words became darker. The handwriting became nervous, as if Thomas was writing while someone was watching him. One entry caught Daniel's attention. It was written 3 days before the disappearance. I finally discovered what they have been hiding. Daniel continued reading. The truth is not outside this town. The truth is inside the people I trusted. The room became silent. Thomas was not afraid of strangers. He was afraid of someone close to him. Daniel turned another page and found something shocking. A list of names, important people from Blackwood Hollow, business owners, officials, and respected families. At the bottom of the page, there was one final name: Daniel Carter. Daniel froze. Why is my name here? Nobody had an answer. Because Thomas Whitmore had written Daniel's name 30 years before Daniel was born. Suddenly, the lights inside the investigation office went out. Complete darkness filled the room. Then, a sound, a slow movement. Someone was inside. Daniel reached for his flashlight. The notebook was still on the table, but something had changed. A new page had appeared, a page that was not there before. Written in fresh ink were 6 words. You are looking in the wrong place. Daniel looked around the dark room. Someone had entered. Someone had touched the notebook. Someone knew they had found the truth. And that meant only one thing. Thomas Whitmore's mystery was not a 30-year-old mystery. It was still happening. Part 3: The Stranger in the Photograph. The message was still visible, written in fresh ink. 6 words that changed everything. "You are looking in the wrong place." Daniel Carter stared at the notebook. His mind was filled with questions. Who wrote the message? How did they enter the room? And most importantly, what was the wrong place? The investigation office was searched immediately. Every door, every window, every corner. But there was no sign of anyone. No footprints. No broken lock. Nothing. It was impossible. Someone had been inside, yet nobody had seen them. Daniel picked up the old photograph again. The photograph of Thomas Whitmore and the mysterious man standing beside him. For the first time, Daniel noticed something strange. The man in the photograph was holding something, a small object in his hand. Daniel looked closer. It was a key, a silver key. The same silver key that was found inside Thomas's wooden box. Daniel's heart started beating faster, because this meant one thing. The stranger in the photograph was connected to the disappearance. Daniel searched through old town records, old newspapers, old documents, anything connected to Thomas Whitmore. After hours of searching, he found an old newspaper article from 1894. The headline said, "Two men seen near Blackwood Forest before midnight." Daniel quickly read the article. It mentioned Thomas Whitmore, but it also mentioned another name. Edward Black. Edward Black was one of the richest men in Blackwood Hollow. Powerful businessman, a man respected by everyone. But according to the article, Edward disappeared only days after Thomas vanished. Daniel stopped reading. 2 men disappeared. The same night, the same place, the same mystery. But why? Daniel continued searching, and then he found a hidden report, a report that was never published. It contained a statement from an unknown witness. The witness claimed, on the night Thomas disappeared, he saw Thomas and Edward arguing outside the old Blackwood mill. Thomas was angry. Edward looked afraid. And Thomas said one sentence, "If the truth comes out, this town will fall." Daniel closed the file. The old mill, that was the place where everything began. That evening, Daniel decided to visit Blackwood Mill. The road was covered with snow. The forest was silent. The old trees moved with the wind. When Daniel finally reached the mill, he noticed something strange. The entrance door was open. But according to records, nobody had entered that building for 20 years. Daniel slowly stepped inside. The air was cold. The floor was covered with dust. Every sound echoed through the empty building. Then, he saw something on the wall. A message, written with old, faded paint. Thomas was not taken. Thomas was hiding. Daniel moved closer. His heart started racing. Because beneath the message, someone had written another sentence. But he was not hiding from them. Daniel stopped. A cold feeling moved through him. He slowly read the final words. He was hiding from himself. Suddenly, a sound came from upstairs. Footsteps, slow, heavy, coming closer. Daniel turned off his flashlight and stood in silence. Someone was inside the old mill. Someone who knew he was there. The footsteps stopped, right above him. Then, a shadow appeared on the wooden floor. A person was standing upstairs, holding something in his hand. Daniel raised his flashlight. The light moved upward, and he saw the silver key. The same key from the photograph. The same key from Thomas's box. The stranger slowly stepped forward, and Daniel heard a voice. Part 4: The Hidden Room Beneath Blackwood Mill. The voice echoed through the old mill. After 30 years, someone finally came looking for Thomas. Daniel Carter stood frozen. The stranger was still standing above him, holding the silver key, the same key that had been hidden inside Thomas Whitmore's box. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. The old mill felt like it was holding its breath. The cold wind moved through the broken windows. The wooden walls made strange cracking sounds. Daniel finally raised his flashlight. "Who are you?" The stranger slowly walked down the stairs, one step after another. When the light touched his face, Daniel's expression changed. The man looked old, very old. His hair was white. His face was covered with years of silence. "My name is Samuel Reed." Daniel searched his memory. The name sounded familiar. Samuel Reed, a worker at Blackwood Mill, a man who disappeared from town records decades ago. "That is impossible," Daniel whispered. "You died in 1969. Samuel looked at him. A sad smile appeared on his face. "People believe many things, but not everything people believe is true." Daniel felt a chill. "Then tell me the truth." Samuel looked toward the dark corners of the mill. Then he said quietly, "I was the last person who saw Thomas Whitmore alive." Daniel's eyes widened. Where was he? Samuel slowly looked at the floor beneath them. "Right here." The words echoed through the empty building. Thomas discovered something beneath this mill. Something that powerful people wanted to hide. Daniel looked around. "The hidden room?" Samuel nodded. Thomas built a secret place under this building. A place where he kept everything he discovered. Samuel walked toward an old machine near the wall. The machine was covered with dust. It looked broken, forgotten. But Samuel touched a hidden lever. A deep sound came from beneath the floor. The old mill shook. Slowly, a section of the wooden floor opened. Behind it was a hidden staircase. Daniel looked into the darkness below. No one knew this place existed. Not the police, not the town, nobody. Samuel looked at Daniel. "Are you ready to see the truth?" Daniel hesitated, but he knew there was no turning back. They walked down the stairs. The air became colder. The darkness became deeper. Every step felt like they were moving closer to a secret that had been buried for 30 years. At the bottom, they found a small underground room. Inside the room were hundreds of documents, old photographs, maps, and personal records. Daniel picked up one file. The cover was covered in dust, but the name was clear. Whitmore Investigation. Daniel opened it. The first page contained a sentence. "If you found this room, then the truth survived." Daniel continued reading. Thomas had been investigating a secret group inside Blackwood Hollow. A group made of powerful people. People who controlled the town from the shadows. But then, Daniel found something that made him stop. A photograph. The photograph showed the members of the secret group. Thomas Whitmore was there. Edward Black was there. And many other important people. But one person in the photograph made Daniel's blood run cold. A person whose name he recognized. His own grandfather. Daniel stepped back. "My family," he whispered. Samuel looked at him with sadness. "Yes, Daniel. Your family was connected to this mystery from the beginning." Before Daniel could ask another question, a sound came from above. The old mill door opened. Someone had entered. Slow F. Part 5, The Secret of Daniel Carter's Family. The voice echoed through the old mill. "Daniel Carter, I know you are down there." The hidden room became completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Daniel looked at Samuel. Fear was visible in his eyes. "Who is that?" Daniel whispered. Samuel did not answer immediately. His face had changed. For the first time, Daniel saw fear in his eyes. "Someone who has been waiting for this day," Samuel finally said. The footsteps above became slower, closer. The person was searching, not randomly, but carefully, as if he already knew every secret place inside the mill. Samuel pointed toward a narrow passage behind the old shelves. "We have to leave." Daniel looked at the documents, the photographs, the evidence. "We cannot leave these behind." Samuel looked at him. "Thomas spent 30 years protecting the truth. Do you want his sacrifice to disappear again?" Daniel understood. He quickly grabbed the most important files. Then they entered the hidden passage. The tunnel was dark, cold, and silent. Only the sound of their footsteps could be heard. After walking for several minutes, Daniel finally asked, "Who was my grandfather?" Samuel remained quiet. Then he answered, "His name was William Carter." Daniel listened carefully. William was one of the smartest men in Blackwood Hollow. He knew things that others did not. But he made one terrible mistake. "What mistake?" Daniel asked. Samuel looked into the darkness. "He trusted power more than truth." Daniel felt a heavy feeling in his chest. Samuel continued, "Your grandfather joined the organization. But later, he realized what they were really doing. They were not protecting the town. They were controlling it." Daniel looked down. "Then why didn't he expose them?" Samuel stopped walking. "Because by the time he understood the truth, it was too late. He had already become part of their secret." The two men continued through the tunnel. After some time, they reached another hidden chamber. Inside, there was a small wooden table, a broken chair, and an old journal. Daniel picked it up. The cover had a name written on it. William Carter. Daniel's hands began to shake. "My grandfather's journal." Samuel nodded. "Thomas wanted you to find this." Daniel opened the first page. The first sentence immediately shocked him. "I betrayed my closest friend, Thomas Whitmore." Daniel stopped breathing. He turned the page. William wrote about the night Thomas disappeared. He admitted something terrible. He knew Thomas was planning to disappear, and he helped him. But why? The next lines explained everything. "Thomas asked me to help him vanish, because someone inside our organization wanted him dead." Daniel looked at Samuel. "So Thomas was not running away?" Samuel shook his head. "No. He was escaping." Daniel continued reading. Then he found the final entry. The last words William ever wrote. If my grandson Daniel ever finds this journal, tell him the truth. Thomas Whitmore never disappeared by accident. Daniel slowly closed the journal. A new question appeared. If Thomas planned his disappearance, then who was trying to kill him? Suddenly, a loud noise came from the tunnel. Someone had found the hidden passage. The footsteps were getting closer. Closer. Samuel looked at Daniel. We have to go. But Daniel noticed something. On the wall beside the journal, there was another message. A message written by Thomas. Only 5 words. Part 6, The Enemy Who Never Left. The message was written on the old wall. 5 simple words. The enemy is still alive. Daniel stared at the sentence. His heart was beating faster. For 30 years, everyone believed the mystery of Thomas Whitmore was buried in the past. But now, Daniel understood something terrifying. The person responsible was still out there. Samuel looked at the message. His face became pale. You finally understand, Samuel whispered. Thomas was not afraid of the past. He was afraid of someone from the present. Daniel turned toward him. Who is he? Samuel looked away. A man who changed his name. A man who erased his history. A man who spent 30 years making sure the truth stayed hidden. Before Samuel could say more, a loud sound came from the tunnel. A metal door slammed. Someone had entered. Daniel and Samuel turned around. A shadow appeared in the darkness. Slowly, a man stepped into the hidden chamber. He was wearing a long black coat. His face was calm, too calm. He looked at Daniel and smiled. After all these years, Thomas finally found someone brave enough to continue his work. Daniel held the journal tightly. Who are you? The man looked at Samuel, then back at Daniel. My name does not matter anymore, but my family name, you already know. Daniel looked confused. The man stepped closer. I am the last person who remembers what really happened in 1894. Samuel whispered, No! The man's eyes moved toward him. Yes, Samuel. I survived. Daniel looked at Samuel. Who is he? Samuel slowly answered. Richard Black. Daniel froze. The Black family. The same family connected to Edward Black. The same family from the old photographs. Richard smiled. Everyone thinks my family was the enemy. But the truth is, your grandfather and Thomas were the ones hiding the real secret. Daniel looked at him. Why would Thomas hide the truth? Richard laughed quietly. Because the truth could destroy everyone. He pulled out an old envelope. An envelope that looked exactly like the one Thomas received on the night he disappeared. Daniel stared at it. Where did you get that? Richard answered, Thomas gave it to me. The room became silent. Samuel looked shocked. That's impossible. Richard smiled. Is it? He slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a letter written by Thomas Whitmore. Daniel grabbed it. The first line made him freeze. If Richard Black is showing you this letter, then I failed. Daniel looked up. Thomas knew about Richard. Thomas knew he would find this letter. But why? Daniel continued reading. Daniel, the man you believe is your enemy. is not the greatest danger. Daniel stopped. The next sentence was even more shocking. The real danger is someone who has been helping you. Daniel slowly looked around the room. Samuel. Richard. Everyone became silent, because one terrifying question remained. Who had been lying to Daniel from the beginning? Suddenly, the candle beside them went out. Darkness filled the chamber. And in that darkness, someone whispered, "Thomas never wanted you to find the truth. He wanted you to find the person who betrayed him." Part 7: The Final Betrayal. The hidden chamber was completely dark. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The last words echoed through the room. "Thomas never wanted you to find the truth. He wanted you to find the person who betrayed him." Daniel stood frozen. His mind was full of questions. Who was the betrayer? Richard Black? Samuel Reed? Or someone else? Slowly, a small light appeared. Samuel had lit another candle. Daniel looked at both men. "Someone has been lying to me." His voice was calm, but filled with anger. Richard Black smiled. "You are finally asking the right question." Daniel turned toward him. "You knew Thomas?" Richard nodded. "I knew him better than anyone." "Then tell me, why did he disappear?" Richard looked at the old journal. "Because Thomas discovered the truth about himself." Daniel frowned. "What does that mean?" Richard took a deep breath. Thomas Whitmore was not only investigating the secret organization. He was also investigating his own past. Daniel opened the old documents again. Inside, he found a hidden page. A page that had been placed between the files. The handwriting was Thomas's. The message was short. "The greatest lie I ever believed was that I could control the darkness." Daniel slowly read the next lines. Years before his disappearance, Thomas was a member of the organization. He helped them. He protected them. He believed he was using their power to help the town. But slowly, he realized the truth. The organization was not protecting Blackwood Hollow. It was destroying it. Daniel looked at Samuel. "Then why did you help Thomas?" Samuel looked down. "Because I was the one who showed him the truth." Daniel was surprised. "You?" Samuel nodded. "I worked inside the organization. I saw what they were doing. And I knew someone had to stop them." Richard suddenly laughed. A cold, quiet laugh. "You still don't understand." Everyone looked at him. Richard stepped closer. Thomas did not disappear to escape the organization. He disappeared because he found the final secret. Daniel felt a chill. "What final secret?" Richard pointed toward the old journal. "Open the last page." Daniel slowly opened it. For a moment, nothing was written. Then he noticed something. A hidden message, written with invisible ink. He held it near the candle. Slowly, words appeared. The organization was never controlled by the Black family. Daniel's eyes widened. The next line appeared. It was controlled by someone everyone trusted. The room became silent. Daniel continued reading. Then, he saw the name. A name that changed everything. William Carter. Daniel stepped back. His grandfather. The man he thought was trying to fix everything was the true leader of the organization. "No," Daniel whispered. Richard looked at him. "Your grandfather was the person Thomas feared most." Daniel felt broken. Everything he believed was wrong. But then Samuel spoke. "Wait." Everyone looked at him. Samuel's face was filled with sadness. "There is something you don't know." Daniel turned. "What?" Samuel took out one final letter. A letter hidden for 30 years. It was written by Thomas, the night before he disappeared. Daniel opened it. The first sentence made him stop breathing. "Daniel, if you have found this letter, then I am already gone." And below that was the truth about what really happened on the night Thomas Whitmore disappeared. End of part. Part 8, The Last Secret of Thomas Whitmore. The letter was old, the paper was fragile, the ink had faded with time, but the words were still clear. Daniel held his breath, because this was the final message from Thomas Whitmore, the man who disappeared in 1894, the man whose mystery had haunted Blackwood Hollow for 30 years. Daniel slowly began reading. "Dear Daniel, if you are reading this letter, then you have discovered the truth I tried to protect." Daniel looked at Samuel, then at Richard. Everyone waited. Thomas continued, "For many years, I believed I could change the organization from inside. I believed I could use their power to help innocent people. But I was wrong." Daniel turned the page. "Power does not change people. It reveals who they truly are." The words were painful, because Thomas was admitting his own mistakes. He was not a perfect hero. He was a man who made wrong choices and spent the rest of his life trying to correct them. Daniel continued reading. "The night I disappeared, I was not running away. I was preparing the final move." Daniel stopped. "The final move?" Thomas explained. "He knew the organization would destroy anyone who exposed them, so he created a plan. He disappeared. He hid the evidence, and he waited, not for revenge, but for the right person to reveal the truth." Daniel looked confused. "Then why did Thomas choose me?" Samuel answered quietly. "Because your grandfather left one final request." Daniel looked at him. "What request?" Samuel looked at the letter. "He wanted his family to repair the damage he caused." Suddenly, Richard Black stepped forward. "That is not the complete truth." Everyone looked at him. Richard's face was serious. "Thomas knew your grandfather was not the only person responsible." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Richard took out an old document. "This document proves someone else controlled the organization before William Carter." Daniel looked at the paper. At the bottom was another name, a name that shocked everyone. Thomas Whitmore. Silence filled the room. Daniel slowly understood. Thomas was not only the person who exposed the secret. He was also part of the reason the secret existed. His disappearance was not just about saving the town. It was about accepting his own guilt. Years later, the truth of Blackwood Hollow finally became public. The secret organization collapsed. The hidden documents were released. Families learned the truth about their past. And the name Thomas Whitmore was remembered forever. Some people called him a hero. Some people called him a criminal. But the truth was somewhere in between. He was a man who made mistakes, a man who faced his own darkness, a man who sacrificed everything so others could know the truth. Many years later, Daniel returned to the old Blackwood mill. The hidden room was still there. The old table, the old documents, the place where the mystery began. On the table, Daniel found one final note. It was from Thomas. Only one sentence was written. "The greatest mystery was never where I disappeared. It was why I needed to disappear." Daniel smiled, because after all those years, the mystery was finally solved. But as he walked away from the old mill, he looked back one last time. Because deep inside, he knew one thing. Some secrets are buried forever, but some secrets are only waiting for the right person to find them. The end.